everyone, Reverend Dr. Katie here. I am coming to you today to answer a great question that came up in the group the other day, which is, do I have to go to church in order to be a Christian? And I'm actually kind of here clicking because I want to open up that page just so I can keep my eye on it, make sure I answer all the questions that came up around this. And this is really I think it's a beautiful question because it elicited such strong reactions. So you have a very strong reaction of like, yes, absolutely, you have to be in a church to be a Christian, or your response is, no, all churches are evil and you could never go to church and call yourself a Christian, then this is the video for you. Because both responses give us some insight into areas, kind of portals, chakra dimensions within ourselves that may need a little compassion, may need some self compassion, and a little TLC. And what I really want to encourage everyone to do as I even just begin this live, is to really open yourself up to thinking, experiencing, to being in a new way in relationship to this thing that we call church. Because maybe there's a church out there that's not the thing that you think it is. This is especially true if you've had only negative experiences with churches. And I totally get it because hello, we're metaphysical Christians, right? Like you're all in this group because you're interested in energy, because you're interested in Reiki, you're interested in healing. You identify with crystals. You have experiences with angels, like whatever that is for you. And for most of us, we're thinking, well, how do I go to a church and actually talk about it? Like, could I ask anyone about that? I'm scared of rejection because so many of you have been told by people who didn't get it, like at the gentle end of the spectrum, just people who didn't get it. Then at the other end of the spectrum, people who are toxic and maybe even abusive, right? They told you you're going to hell. They arose all this fear and shame within you. And that leaves you in a really sticky place, especially if that's your only experience with church. So I want to speak, first of all, with the great compassion that I have for that experience. Y'all, I'm an ordained minister. I was an associate pastor in a church. If anyone had walked into my church and asked me about any of those things, I would have done a cartwheel and said, come on into my office, or let's go on a walk. Let's talk about all that, right? Because my interest was in helping people get to know Christ. I was in a meeting the other day with fellow clergy, and they said, "Hey, Katie, we went to your website. Did you know I'm an energy healer too? I'm a Reiki master. I love crystals. I use energy in my all the time in the church work that I do." So this is where I want to shake some of you up, because some of you are convinced that all churches are really toxic, evil, that no one would ever get you. So these clergy colleagues I have show me that that may not be true, but that doesn't necessarily help you if you're right in the middle of dealing with having been in a traumatic environment. And so, of course, you need to give yourself great compassion and work on your own healing. If I can help in any way, please do reach out. But let me go back to the original question. Is it true that you have to go to church in order to be a Christian? No, of course not. Of course not. My perspective. No, this is not what's necessary to be a Christian. Um, you know, I don't think Christians are actually agreed on what it takes to be a Christian. You're going to find some Christians that say, you have to believe this, you have to do this, you have to have this little narrow box of God in order to be a Christian. So, in the most generous definition possible, a Christian is someone who lives their life by the ministry, the teachings of the person that we call Jesus. And in my experience of Christianity, we acknowledge that somehow Jesus' presence is among us today. The rest is a lot of details, right? It's a lot of details that we can think about, that we can argue about, that we can debate about, that we can have healthy conversations about. And so, do you have to go to church in order to have Jesus as part of your life? No, I don't think so. I don't think so. Do you need community in order to live the most rich dimension of your Christian, spiritual, metaphysical life? I think that we do. We're not meant to do this alone. The New Testament is filled with stories of people who do it together. They come together. The whole book of Acts is about people who were like, oh my gosh, what do we do with this Jesus message? And they come together and they figure it out. And that coming together is something that we call the church. So, church, the ecclesia, the assembly, can look lots of different ways, right? It can look a million billion different ways, but that community aspect is really important. So how do you get from having experience, if you brought up the word crystal, you were going straight to hell. How do you get from there into a situation where you can begin to think about what does community look like for me? Because it's that community, it's that acceptance that is the healing thing for most of us, right? It's having a community of people that can hold us gently, that can hold us tenderly, that can challenge us, that can hold us with compassion, that can support us, and that we can support as well. That's where the healing really begins. And so, can there be the real question? Not the real question. Another question for me is, can there be a church out there for you? If you're still kind of still in the crystal closet, if you want to experience a community of faith with people who are on a journey that is similar to yours. Over and over, I've been shown again that yes, that is possible. That is possible. So, for those of you who do feel like, oh my gosh, could I find a church community where no one ever tells me I'm going to hell, where I'm accepted for who I am, where I'm challenged, where my beliefs are challenged? That's actually a good thing. Where I can grow, where I can experience healing, where I can experience faith community. Then yeah, I definitely think that's possible for each and every one of you if that's something that you desire. However, that's not what makes you a Christian, right? I believe that communities of faith are actually there for us when not when we're feeling perfect, but when we're feeling very imperfect. It's that community that can really help us be the best person that we're supposed to be. And to me, the best version of church is one where I can go as a very broken and imperfect person, and they're like, "Hey, come on in. We know you're not perfect, neither are we. Let's all go be imperfect together and make the world the best that it can be." So, for those of you who are kind of seeking that, I want to give you the good word, the good cheer. That, yeah, there are churches out there that I think that I know, that I've experienced, that I have both been a part of, that I have pastored, like all of the above, that are beautiful, wonderful, welcoming communities. Is that for you right now on your journey? I don't know. I don't know if it is or not. That's really for you to decide. Will that support you on this healing journey that you're on? If it will, then I'd be happy to help you think about how that might look for you. If not, that's okay. But not you need, but I invite you to think about finding your own community of people who can help support you on your journey. But what makes us a Christian is our relationship with Jesus, like hands down. That's it. That's what makes us a Jesus follower or not a Jesus follower, however we decide to define that for ourselves. So one thing I love about this group is that people are coming from so many beautiful, diverse experiences, diverse backgrounds. And we're all coming together because you know what unites us? It's not any one denomination, it's not any church, it's not any country. It is Jesus Christ. That's it. That is what, like literally, that is the only thing that unites us. Is like we are all connected to the ministry, the life, the death, the resurrection of Jesus Christ, and we are all defining that for ourselves in different ways, and that is a good thing. Like I truly believe that is a good thing. That diversity is important. So I can tell you the things that I look for in a faith community whenever I move to a new place and it's time to find a new one. It's one that is accepting, it's one that's inclusive, it's one where they feel free to challenge me and I can challenge them. It's one where they understand that everyone has some bad days and they hold you up in those bad days and that I can hold them up when they're having a bad day. I will only go to a church that is LGBTQI inclusive. So for me, that's really important. Yes, those churches do exist, and yes, they are thriving. It's one where they can hold diverse theologies, and that we understand that people have different experiences and understandings of God. It's one that gets out there in community and does mission, and it does mission without the expectation that anyone that they serve has to come through the doors of their church. We don't make people pray before we give them what they need. So we do the work of Jesus. We feed the poor. We free the prisoners. We give homes to the homeless. Like, to me, when churches are out there doing that, that's the kind of church that I want to be a part of. And so for me, those are the things that I look for in a church community. I think for many people, some of the missing link can be how do I find that? How do I find that? Because even in one church tradition, you're going to find a lot of variety of churches, and so learning to look for what's not being said can be really, really important in that process. And let me just I'll give you a hint, like something that you can do. You can call before you go. You can call a church office And whoever answers the phone, you can ask to speak to a pastor or someone in a pastoral role, someone, some kind of staff person at the church, and you can just ask them questions before you go to make sure that it's a church for you. Are you LGBTQI inclusive? If they say, we love everyone, but then they're not. That answers your question. You don't have to show up. You can even say, I really enjoy Reiki. Is that going to be a problem for you? And if they say, oh, well, you got to be really careful, then you don't have to go. You might find a church that says, I don't know much about that. I would love to learn more. Can you tell me? In which case, it's probably going to be okay. And you're not going to ever find any church community that's actually perfect. What you want to find is the one that's perfect for you. But it's going to have imperfect people because, y'all, hello, humans, right? And so the church is, to me, is the place where I can go and be imperfect and kind of flip out on people, and they'll say, gosh, sounds like you've had a tough time of it. How can we be the most supportive of you, right? So that's what, for me, what church is. Do you have to go to church to be a Christian? No. You need to be a Christian, in my book. We're struggling with, loving, conversing about the Jesus message. And that's it. That is the Jesus message. We are thinking about always how to be more Christ-like. That is what makes us Christians. Metaphysical Christians, of course. We have other special interests that we're really interested in. And I love it that you're all here, that you're asking the tough questions, that you're doing the hard work, and that you're healing this past potential trauma, of toxicity, of people who in Christ's name have actually abused the Christ message. And when we can heal that within our own selves, within our own lives, then we can pay it forward to others, and we can make sure that the message of Christ, and this is where I get teary, we can make sure that the message of Christ gets out there, that is the one that will actually heal the world. And I'm part of that. You are part of that. When we do our own inner work, when we can assess the toxicity that we've been through and come out the other side, and then shine that Christian message throughout the world, throughout the universe, and do that as Christians, as Jesus followers, then that's when our work really, really begins in earnest. And I love being part of that. So I invite all of you to come along with me on that journey. Whether you're doing that, attending a church that is supportive of you or not is completely up to you. I'm here to help you on that journey in any way that I can. So reach out if I can be helpful. I have enjoyed this. I'm going to look over the comments. Hey, everyone. It's good to see you. You can always watch this on replay, so that it'll be available for you for a long time. And I will talk to everyone really soon. Bye-bye.